Hey, Kary.
How are you, Vic?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
I love your Christmas tree. That's so pretty.
Oh, thank you. It's fake.
Mine is too. That's okay.
They're the best ones. They're easy to take down, put up every year.
It's my first year with a fake one, so it's kind of new territory.
I like it. I've been doing it for like 5 years now, and I don't know if I'll go back.
Yeah, so much easier.
Yeah, I don't think we're going back either. I think we're done. We're like no
No
more
more killing
vacuuming up
tree.
a million needles afterwards.
Yeah, yeah. That was the defining factor too, for sure. And I miss Vic. I miss talking to Vic just in the gym, so this will be nice.
Don't let Kary's fun personality fool you. She used to kick my ass in the gym. So there's a badass in there.
Okay, okay.
I miss that. I miss those days, Vic.
I got the gym in my garage now.
I know. I saw it. Looks
Now
so nice.
I just need you to record a few, few things
Movement.
yelling at me, and
There you go.
no, I got the videos. I got some of the moves down. I just need you in my ear.
Motivating, yelling. Yeah.
Oh man. So how has 2020 treated you? I know it's been a roller coaster for a lot of us.
Oh, I mean, it just seems like that's the constant, narrative for everybody. It sucks. It's not, there's been nothing great about this year I mean,
For anyone.
anybody. So it's just kind of a broken record, but it's brought up, I'm sure you've heard just, with COVID and just all the different curveballs, and it's just not ideal for anybody in any situation, for the kids in their school, for us in our jobs, for family dynamics, relationship dynamics. You're stuck in a house all
Yeah.
day with your kids, your spouse. It's
Yeah. Someone I work with, I remember her telling a customer, she's just like, I don't give a damn what happens as long as they don't close the schools back. And I looked at her and I'm like, what? And she's just like, I can't do it. I can't deal with the kids in the house.
yeah.
So I think that's just like everyone's little scapegoat is when the kids got to go back to school for a little bit. But I know so many parents that just for fear reasons kept their kids out of school, period. So
Yeah, and that's the thing about this situation too, is you really just have to respect everybody's journey and how they want to handle it, because it's at the end of the day, just like anything, right? We're the ones that have to deal with it. So if you want to keep your kids at home, great. If you want to send them out, I get it. So
yeah.
we did that. I did the half and half, but with my son, as well, I'm sure we'll be talking quite a bit about him with his situation. It's his got shut down because my son has autism, so these kids with special needs, it was a nightmare for homeschooling. It's an impossible situation for the teachers, for the kids, for the parents, and then to add another layer, these kids are much more susceptible to illness, and there hasn't been enough studies done to see how it affects them. But the ones that have been affected by COVID, unfortunately, it's had really bad effects on them neurologically. So it puts them at higher risk, which just adds, like I said, another layer of difficulty to the whole situation. But I've never lived my life in fear, and I'm cautious. You have to be smart, but I can't. I couldn't do it with this. I'm like, I already let go of so many fears with him and his situation, that if I just glued onto this, I probably would never let him leave the house again. So I had to let go a little bit there, which was much needed, but it's been okay. I mean, these kids are all going to be behind, that's for sure. I mean, this generation, unfortunately, it's tough. It's tough.
So you made a
Yes,
career
if this
change too,
doesn't,
right? At the end of the year.
I did. And I think it's so necessary to reinvent yourself, just as and as a woman, and I don't like to generalize, but as a mother and as a woman, there's this inherent sense of guilt when you're a mom that you have when you do anything for yourself, when you buy something for yourself, when you take a vacation, when you just say, hey kids, go in your room, watch the TV for 2 hours, and even just doing anything for yourself, you feel so selfish. And I have found with this and with my son and his autism and like I said, that fear, that inherent fear, that it was just enabling. I had to, when I let that go, it was so empowering. And I was just so much happier because just because I'm a mom, just because I'm a mother, a wife, you know, it doesn't mean I can't have my own life and do things that make me happy. So that's, you know, why I took on coaching. I loved fitness. It was very nostalgic for me. You know, you and I talked about this, about my dad. He was in the powerlifting. And it just, when I lost him, you always go back to your roots, and being in the gym was always nostalgic for me. And then, you know, I closed that chapter, and I'll always love fitness and love being a coach, and I will still do that to some degree. But then I felt the need to get back to my creative side, and that was where my degree was, which was design, interior design. Had my own business, did that, and I found real estate, which now I'm a real estate agent. I just it was the best of two worlds. I could still be creative. I love everything about homes. I love decorating homes.
Well, you did a good job.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Chelsea. But I just love helping people. And I think with the life I've been given, it's pretty obvious I've meant to be a caregiver. So I genuinely want to take care of people's needs and see them happy. And there's no hidden agenda. There never was with coaching. I mean, you saw that. I really cared about people's journey, and I want to see people succeed. And I think that that's important in anything you do in life. And you, like I said, I think you could switch careers 20 times if you wanted. You need to make yourself happy. Otherwise I would go crazy if I haven't already. So
I think that's a big fear for people too, is making that career change. Like it's always scary when you leave that comfort zone. And so I think for you taking that chance just to say like, hey, I got to make myself happy at least a little bit, right? I got to fill my cup up a little bit for me to give back. But I think it gets a little scary there when we make big changes in our lives like that. And personally, I think you made it at the right time, especially with all the gyms closing down.
Ironically, yeah. Yeah. Obviously I didn't plan it, but I mean, yeah, it was, and you're right. That's such a good point, is that comfort zone. And, you know, with anything, I always tell my daughter this, you know, I have a son and a daughter. My daughter is normal neurologically. So her and I have these conversations because she's had to watch her brother and his struggles. And so her and I's relationship is really special, and it's really neat because she's been my rock, kind of my sounding board, because she was, and I hate to use this term, but you know, my normal child. And she's been there, and she's been through the crap with us, and she's seen it. And so she's seen me reinvent myself as a person. And when I decided to get into real estate, she was like, wow, Mom, that's pretty cool that you do that. And, you know, you can help people. And I always tell her, I'm like, you just can't be afraid to take those jumps in life. Like, you know, you're standing, I guess like a good symbolic gesture would be, you know, you're standing at the edge of the cliff and it's scary as hell. You're looking over like I said, that going back to that fear, that's so just debilitating, like fear of failing, fear of judgment, fear of what other people think of you, which is a woman and as a mother is such a huge problem, I think. And to just jump, just do it. And if you fail, and I failed many times in life, you can't learn if you don't fail, and you can't. And as a mom too, watching my kids, watching them make mistakes, watching them take those little jumps is so scary. And just, you know, the husband as a wife, watching your spouse do that, just letting go of that control factor of saying, you know what, go do it. Even when you think it might be wrong or a terrible idea, just letting go of that control and that fear, not just for them, but for yourself, is very freeing, ironically, and has helped me grow way more than I ever could have. And I think having my son in his situation completely helped me do that, or else I think I'd be a lot more reserved in my life, for sure.
I love how you were talking about how you were kind of destined to be a caregiver, because I feel like that theme has echoed itself through both of your jobs and in your personal life. I mean, taking care of your family and especially taking care of your son, but also even with like coaching or real estate, both things are caring for humans and show compassion and patience and like drive to push people to find their perfect home or their best body, or whatever it might be. It definitely like it just radiates off of you that you absolutely are supposed to be doing the things that you're doing. And I love that you are holding strong to your convictions and saying, no, this is the change I need to make, and that you're brave enough to do so, because it seems like you're definitely on the right career path.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I'm not a millionaire yet.
Yet though, the power of yet.
But that's never been a driving factor in anything in my life. And I can say that, and people that know me really well will be like, yep. I've never been drawn to people that have lots of money. I've never used that as a factor in anything in life. My relationships, my career. I've seen how easily things can get away from you and how easily things can change in life. Quick story to back, everything comes from somewhere. So my father, I don't know if I ever shared this with you, Vic, but my father, who passed away 13 years ago, he was in the Marine Corps, power lifter, very fit. I mean, that's a whole different podcast, honestly. But he had a really freak accident when I was in high school, and he suffered a severe spinal cord injury. And he was diagnosed as being a quadriplegic. He would never walk again, never have use of his limbs ever again, is the diagnosis he was given. So he was actually in ICU for about 2.5 months, in a coma for a while. And, I watched that whole process of him going through that, and what that looked like, and watching him transform, and just how quickly life can change, and how really it doesn't, excuse my language, but it really doesn't fucking matter what kind of car you drive or what house you live in or if you have the nicest clothes, because I saw how quickly he went from walking, lifting weights, being able to be, a husband, a father, being able to drive a car, wash himself, bathe, just feed himself, to nothing in a matter of a day. And then watching him process that and be able to accept that and be okay with that, be at peace with that. And that is really what I feel, what the lessons I've learned, what my father and mother and caregiver. My mother was the ultimate caregiver. She cared for my dad for 13 years after his accident, before he passed away. And I started being a caregiver to my own father when I was 15, when he had his accident. I had to grow up real quick. When you're in high school and your friends are going to prom and you're having to shower your dad, it really changes your perspective about what's important in life and what really matters. So I'm not saying that made me better. I'm just a better person by all means. It just made me different, and it shaped my views of relationships and how to view what's important and what's not, because I've seen firsthand how quickly life changes. So yeah, I would love a lot of money. That'd be great. Maybe someday.
You never know.
Someday.
But I have a feeling you value your day-to-day life so much more and have such a better appreciation for it because of the things you've gone through. Yes. I just have a feeling that you are probably more present than most people in their day-to-day, because you just don't know what tomorrow has. So I think that's worth a lot more than money, that for sure.
No, you're right. But that's a hard perspective to give to people. And what Vic's doing with his Write Your Next Chapter and embracing your personal story, that's so important for people to do, because no one else is going to feel sorry for you. No one else is going to validate your journey or validate your feelings or appreciate you as much as you have to appreciate yourself, your choices. I always tell my kids that too. You have a choice in everything.
Oh, absolutely.
My daughter's like, this person made me feel this way. And I said, I understand that. And I know what that feels like, but no one has the power to make you feel anything. You choose how you react to every situation. You choose how you react to what people say. And I know you can't control most things in life, which that's the sticker there, the thing that really sucks, but you can control how you react to it. So I really try to enforce that in my kids, because everyone has a story, and your story never ends till the day you leave this earth. So you gotta make the best choices. You gotta try to make the best of it, even when you're like, oh my God, this sucks. And I've had many of those days, but man, I've learned a lot, and I love talking to other people. Like I think Vic and I connected instantly when we met, and he's so, I sense that compassion in him and the desire to hear. And that's how you learn. You hear other people's stories. If you have the desire to listen, and not just listen, but really have the empathy for other people, that's how you grow. And I think it's so important to do that. So I think it's awesome what you guys are doing.
Well,
Thank
thanks.
you.
I know Vic's very easy to talk to, so that makes this really easy process as well. But I've seen him get emotionally invested in other people's stories, so I know that he really, really cares.
He does. You can't fake that. You can't.
Yeah. And Kary was one of the first, I think, to get a copy of my workbook. I think I was still editing it.
Yeah.
And I was like, here, look over this. And she's like, I'm going to be flying on a plane. I think you had a family engagement to go to. And yeah, I was just like, just hang on to it, keep it. I'll see you again at some point. I knew we were going to be connected forever.
Yeah.
I think you just
Circle.
come across people that way, right? Like people come into your life for a reason.
Yeah. And now she's here, season 2. We've got her. I love it. It's very full circle.
But I do want to take a step back. We talked about your son, and I can tell his journey has shaped a lot of your journey, obviously being his mother. But kind of walk us through when you first came about his diagnosis as being autistic. And then what I'd really like to know is, did you seek out a support group? Was there a point where you felt like, hey, I have to do this on my own, or did you start looking for that support group? Because I think there's so many people that when we deal with certain roadblocks in our life or obstacles, we think we're alone completely. So I was just curious, what that support looked like for you.
I can make this as short as possible. My son was born in 2003. I had ironically just decided to go back and get my college degree 3 months prior to finding out I was pregnant. That's just the way it goes. So when Cannon is his name, when Cannon was born, as a mother, you're so excited. It's exciting, scary, all those good things. And normal, everything went along fine. Really, the first probably 8 months, I didn't see anything off. I didn't really, just watching him grow and drool, and it was hilarious. But then once I started seeing him around other kids is when it really resonated with me. And I started my own business when I graduated, so I had to put him in daycare, and I would drop him off, and it was probably, he wasn't talking. That was the first milestone he missed. He didn't start talking. And at that time, this was back in 2003, autism really wasn't as mainstream back then as it is today. So today it's everywhere. People know about it. You can't not know somebody who doesn't know somebody that has a child with autism or but back then it was not. So his pediatrician, when he was a little over a year old, and he wasn't talking at all, not even no. And everyone learns no pretty quickly. She didn't seem concerned. She's like, oh, he's a boy. Boys take longer to talk. And, my family would say the same thing, friends. Oh, he's a boy, boys. And then, it's 16 months old, still nothing. And it was around that time I started taking him to daycare so I could work and go to school. And I would see the other kids, and I'm like, holy shit, something's not right. He the way he played was so inappropriate, meaning he would take toys and put them in lines and make shapes with them. He wouldn't play with toys how kids should play with toys. And he would just dart around. It almost looked like what I guess some people would call ADHD, like he just dart. His attention, you just could not get him to focus. And, in that back then, I would air all these concerns to my pediatrician, and she's like, he's a kid, he doesn't have attention. It's just so normal. But that's the thing I tell moms that have reached out to me or been referred to me. It's like, as a mother, and it's a hard pill to swallow if something's wrong with your child, but when something's wrong with your child. And I knew, I'm like, something is not right. So when he was about 18 to 20 months is when I really started pushing and digging my heels in. I switched pediatricians probably 3 times because I was not getting answers. I was not getting any direction at all. Support wise, I didn't really feel I needed it then from anyone but the medical profession, because I was trying to figure out what was wrong with my son, because I knew he wasn't a normal child. So really for about 8 or 9 months, I nonstop I would just get out the yellow pages, which for all you young people, they existed. It's a book where you look and you can find businesses. And I just went through centers, daycare centers, educational centers. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I knew I needed my son looked at or something. So I would make appointments 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 2 to 4 appointments a day, however many I could get into, and just take Cannon to these places and literally just be like, help me. I don't know what's going on. Something. And I got turned away place after place, week after week, month after month for probably 6 months. And talk about deflating and exhausting, and just that's where I was, and I wouldn't even know where to turn for support for that. Nowadays, it's not like that for parents, thank God. But finally, ironically, after I took him place after place for over a year, and again, this is a very, very long story condensed short. I had my husband at the time and I were going through separation. It just didn't, and that's very typical, actually, sadly, with families with autism. Marriages don't make it. I was going through a divorce. My father had actually just passed away. I was dealing with all this with my son. And I finally was at this one place. It's so fuzzy because my brain was fuzzy. And this lady looked at me, and she was the receptionist, and it was a learning center for kids. And Cannon was in the room, of course, darting around like a crazy man, like he did. And I'm like, short of having him on a leash, she looked at me and she goes, the doctor there turned us away. And I'm just sitting there in the room, and I just started crying. I didn't know what else to do. This was probably a year into it, and I had done this every day. And she looks at me and she looks at Cannon and she goes, have you ever heard of autism? That was the first time I ever heard that word in my life. And I had taken Cannon to probably thousands of places.
Wow.
All over California, Los Angeles, San Diego, Orange County. I went anywhere to help him. And a receptionist, and God, I wish I knew who she was, because I would give her the biggest hug today. She said that word to me, and I was like, what's that? And she goes, I think your son has autism. And I'm like, okay, great. Left, did all the research. Like back then, again, limited research. So I took that again to my pediatrician and said, what is this? And that was really the start of a really long, awful journey to fight for him, to fight for services, to fight the insurance companies, to fight the state. It was a lot of fights and I'm not the only parent that did this back then. There's a bunch of us that kind of had to pave the way for families now, thank God. It's much easier now. We all had to go to litigation in court with the state and with insurance companies and hire lawyers, and it damn near bankrupted us. But this is what had to happen for kids today, because now parents don't have to go through what we went through. Thank goodness, because no family, no matter what the problem is, should have to go through that. And to answer the question about support, there was none. There was zero support groups that I could find. And what I started to do is I started to blog, and I started writing, and I sent that to you. And that was my way of putting it out there in the universe. And just, I needed someone to talk to. I was going through a divorce. My family was far away. My mom just lost her husband, so she was in no place to be as supportive. Bless her heart. She's a great mother, but she's grieving her husband. So I really didn't have a support system in place. And my friends are great friends, but they didn't know what to do. And I wouldn't either. They would, of course, listen to me if I ever needed to cry out of frustration or whatnot, but what are they going to say? So it was really tough. So I know now there's a lot more in place as far as support groups for mothers with autism, or just in general, Autism Speaks. There's so many organizations now that has so many resources for families and parents. So thank goodness, because it is extremely isolating, and it's a very, very difficult journey for families to go on. So people need people, that. So thank goodness that they have way more than they did then, because
I think we've learned that lesson now this year more than ever. We've really learned that lesson that people need people. It's very isolating this year. And so I can only imagine this being a fraction of what you went through, to be a mom and not know what's going on and not know where to find answers, and just know that something's wrong and have to be kind of very alone battling this. You're exceptionally brave. And I mean, that level of love that you showed your son is just incredible. I mean, a lot of people would just give up, at that point. I'm just super, super impressed. You are quite the superwoman there. So.
Oh, that's not, I think I think it's a mother's love. And I hate, it's so cliche, my God, but it's so true. I mean, the love, no one can tell you, prepare you for the love you have for your child. It's insanity, really, obviously. And I knew this was like I've talked about before, things you can and can't control in life. I knew this was something I knew I couldn't control is autism. You can't fix it, you can't cure it, but I knew I could help it. And for me, when there's that option, why wouldn't I, go to the ends of the earth for this kid? Because at the end of the day, and my mom, and I learned this from my mom, watching her care for my dad, a very slow, sad passing towards the end. I'm like, Mom, why? Like, please just put him in a home, let him go, and this is easy for me to say, even though it's my own father, and it was very tough to watch as well. But she'd be like, Kary, at the end of the day, when your father's gone, I want to know I did everything I could for him. And I want to feel okay about it. And I want to know, she's like, I have to be at peace with it. And she's right. And that's the same thing with Canon is, whenever I leave this earth, I want to know I did everything I could for that kid and be okay and be at peace, because it's my journey and it's the only way I could do it. But I think it took probably 5 years off my life for sure.
I think you're also a pioneer though with your blog. I think you probably didn't realize it at the time, but a few people probably read through your blog. You probably reached a few people that needed that in that moment, because people were going through the exact same thing you were going through. And thank you for being vulnerable, especially with your own relationship, your own marriage too, because I think that's something else people need to hear too is, things happen behind closed doors and we don't know what other people's lives are like. Everyone can look very happy on the outside, but we have no idea what shit is going on behind closed doors. And so I think it's so important for people to hear, you were dealing with the marital issues too, just because you're trying to raise a child that you guys had no idea where the resources were going to come from. And so I think it's important that people were to hear that. But I think writing the blog was you being a pioneer, because I remember reading a few of those entries and I was like, all right, this chick's getting me all teary-eyed here.
Oh, Vic. Yeah, it's good to be vulnerable. I mean, you have to be, right? We're not inherently as humans, we're so imperfect. It's crazy. And and that's the thing, like people always ask me about autism, like they're like, how can you like sum up autism, which is so unsummable. But it's the brain is probably the most complex advanced organ we know of or obviously have in our bodies. But autism takes this complex advanced organ and just puts it in its most primitive state, because autism is so black and white for these kids or adult people that are living with it. You ask the way they process things and the way they see things, it's just, like I said, primitive. They're just almost childlike in its early stages, like, and it's beautiful in some ways. It really is, because my son is so, when you go along day to day as adults and we get so just run down and tarnished, and you watch the news and ugh. And then you look at my son who's just happy to have a roof over his head and to eat good food and to be able to wear clothes. I mean, I know it sounds so silly, but it's refreshing, and it's nice to be around sometimes, because it takes me back, and it really grounds me. And I love watching how he processes the world. It's very simple, but it's very beautiful. I don't know. Autism is tough. And I mean, when you meet one person with autism, I know people have probably heard this. You've met one person with autism, because it's so different for every person and what they look like and their behaviors and how they are. But I know a lot of moms I've met through the years that have kids with autism, and they're some of the most amazing women I'll ever meet. And I really think it's probably for a reason. They, you get what you get in life. If you don't make the best of it, I don't know what else are you going to do? Feel sorry for yourself every day? Because no one wants to be around that.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, we can see how that shaped who you are, who you've become. I want to touch on just transformation, because I've come to this point in my life where I realize that every human being is on this transformational journey. That's what we're put on this earth for. Like, from the day we are born to the day we die, our job is to constantly try to transform into a different, better person.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what I feel like happens in everyone's life. We don't realize it until there's certain points, certain things that happen. And I think when those milestones happen, we get a different reflection. So I was just curious in terms of where else you're moving to in terms of transforming your life. I know you've had a career change recently, but what else is kind of on the horizon there?
I really want to start working more on me, because I've invested so much, as most moms do, in their kids and Canon. And I think that making that career change was the first thing for me, is doing something where I can feel like an adult and I can be creative and I can still learn. And, also building relationships with my friends and I've had the same boyfriend. He may as well be my husband. We've been together forever. Building that relationship. And we have a great relationship, great friendship. But, these kids are going to grow up and be gone. And then what? I don't want to be staring at him and being like, who are you? Who am I? Like, what's going on? So I think that's really what I'm working on now, is being more vulnerable to him and to our relationship, because I've given so much to my kids and to that part of my life. So now I'm giving back to me a little bit more and doing things that really make me happy, and being more open and vulnerable to, my relationship with him and my girlfriends. Cause, as I transition, it's like, that's kind of the next chapter for me, is growing old with these people. And I still want to have fun. I don't want to be an old. Well, I'm gonna get old. But yeah, I think that's it. I think that to answer that, I just, and that's work. I mean, as you know, you have a great marriage, and you and your wife, and it's a work. Any relationship that's good is so much work, and I don't want to neglect that. I don't want to use the excuse, well, I'm a mom first, which I am, and I should be, but I also deserve that great relationship with him. So that's what I want to really work on next with him, and my good friends that I'm lucky enough to have quite a few of them in my life.
Put
So
a ring
yeah,
on it. What are you waiting for?
Love that.
great, Vic, great question. If he was here, I'd put him on the spot, but no,
No, it does sound like you're continuing to reinvent who you are every time. And so I love that. Are you doing happy hour Zoom calls with the girlfriends, or are you able to meet up every now and then?
no, I've been lucky enough where my good friends, we live in the same neighborhood. So the ones that are across the town, or not out of state, yeah, we do our calls and stuff and stay in touch. But the ones that we all know, we all get COVID tests. So, and then we all, hang out. We golf a lot. So we're outside and we don't have to be near each other. And, like I said, you have to kind of respect everyone's journey in this, but we've been trying to do it as safely as we can. And it's not ideal. I mean, you guys know that. I mean, what are you guys doing to stay in touch with your friends?
Right. I think it's important to have that human connection. Hence why we're doing this via Zoom now.
Right.
We're like, we want to see people. But we were the same way, hanging out with neighbors, like in the back alleyway. We were having our movie nights, and everyone would pop up their chairs in front of their garage, and it was nice to have that human connection.
Yeah.
Luckily Chelsea and I work with the public, so we interact with the public, but that's always a scary moment too, but yeah, I think it's so important to have that human connection with our friends. Even family. We've even driven by family members' houses, and we're just like, I miss you guys.
Yeah, I've done the drive-by birthday parties and the baby showers and thrown things out the window. And yeah, I mean, yeah, you gotta see people. It's
right?
So tough not to. Yeah, it's crazy.
I think I've mailed more cards this year than I probably have my entire life.
Christmas cards?
Oh no, just like, hey, how are you doing cards.
Nice.
I wanted to support like small business, so I ordered some like Corona themed silly cards off Etsy, and then mailed them to a bunch of friends so that they'd have something more exciting than bills in their mailbox.
Right. That's a cute idea.
You crave human connection. I don't think we realize how much we need it. It was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just people. Yeah, you need them.
You do. And it's easy to a friend of mine reminded me of that, because I tend to shy when I'm going through some tough time. I tend to kind of shy away from people because I get very internal, and that is something I'm working on too, to reinvent myself. I've always been vulnerable with my story because I've always inherently been a giver, because I want to help people so badly, but I don't like receiving help. I don't ask for help. So that's something I've been trying to work on, because you just have to, and it feels good. When I feel great when I help other people. So why shouldn't I allow other people to help me? So I'm really trying to work on that. And that's hard for me. I don't know why, but that's really hard for me. Yeah, it's really tough for me to ask for help. But
I think for some of us, it's just human nature. We're afraid of being judged. Like if we ask for help, is that person going to judge me or judge my situation? We're afraid to be looked down on. We're afraid, there's so many different fears associated with it. Mm-hmm. I think once we get past that level of fear, and frankly, you just have to walk around with the attitude of like, I don't give a shit what other people think.
Yeah.
And I think once you get to that point, it's easier to ask for the help, ask for the support. But I mean, I was the same way. It took me a lot of years. I think this project has actually helped me open up with asking for help more, just being vulnerable.
I think I'm in the same boat. I don't think I started asking for help or admitting that I might even need help until I hit 30. I was just stubborn. I think I was just too hard-headed. Yeah. It's so much better when you do, because then you get the help you need, or you get that weight lifted off your chest of holding on to something. And then you can, that, I guess that I don't give a shit attitude. Now I can work on myself, and I don't really care if everyone thinks negatively about it, because it's my journey.
We absolutely loved having you on here. I love seeing you again. I know I see you on social media, but I miss those moments in the gym with you.
I know.
Especially when Thursday night just rolling out. It's just like, I need that right now, all up here.
Yeah, see? It's a good release, Vic.
But I feel like I've taken so much away from you. I mean, I'll be in the gym and I'm having to remember some moves, and I got Kary in my head. So hence why I feel like people meet for a reason. I feel like you've opened up my world to a lot of different things, as well as the gym. And hopefully, like I said, we met for the reason of me being able to give back to you through this project. And Chelsea and I are absolutely grateful that you came on to share your story. I think a lot of people will take something away from it. And
I love what you guys are doing. Keep doing it. It's good stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
Yeah, we're just gonna keep building it, and Chelsea's along for the ride, and I love it.
Yep.
Thank you, Chelsea. she says, Vic, whatever you want me to do, I'm here to help you out. So
that's great. That's the perfect helper.
Right? I always tell her I have no payroll to pay her yet.
No, that's okay. I'm just here. I always say, like, I'm here for the comedic relief. I'm just here to crack some jokes and soak up all the knowledge, because I always leave these, like, invested in their story or motivated to do greater things in my life. So this is so good for my well-being as well. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely, guys.
Awesome. We'll tell the whole family we said hi. We'll talk soon.
Okay, Vic. See you guys. Bye, Chelsea. Bye, Vic.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.